Everything you need to know about the tragedy of Julius Caesar, Act 2, Scene 1, Part 3. This is a huge scene with lots of characters in and out and soliloquies and monologues, all kinds of stuff going on. And where we are picking up is when all the conspirators have left Brutus at his house. He's called for a servant again, but his wife shows up. And she has a problem, a bone to pick. She's going to get in his grill and talk to him about some issues because he has been a grump, a turd, not a very good husband, and she's going to bring it up. So Portia says, "Brutus, my lord." And he says, "Remember, it's really early in the morning. Portia, what mean you?" In other words, what's going on? "Wherefore rise you now? Is it not for your health thus to commit your weak condition to the raw cold morning?" In other words, it's not good for you to be up in the cold damp. All right. He kind of, in this book, they downplay and are pretty negative, sexist about females being weaker. Portia says, "Nor for yours neither." It's not good for your health either, hubby. "You have ungently, Brutus, stole from my bed." In other words, you got up grumpy. "And yesternight at supper, you suddenly arose and walked about musing," which means being deep in thought, "and sighing, with your arms across. When I asked you what the matter was, you stared upon me with ungentle looks. I urged you further. Then you scratched your head and too impatiently stamped your foot." So she was like, "What's the problem?" And he was like, grumpy, and was like, "Get out of my face." And she was not happy that he was acting that way, and he was not happy she was asking him. "Yet I insisted," so she was still pushing it. "Yet you answered not, but with an angry wafter or waving of your hand gave sign for me to leave you," like, "Take off, chick." "So I did, fearing to strengthen that impatience which seemed too much enkindled, like set ablaze. So I left because I didn't want to set you off already further. And withal, hoping it was but an effective humor," meaning mood, "which sometime hath his hour with every man." So in other words, I was hoping it's a phase you were going through. It was just like a mood you were in. "It will not let you eat, nor talk, nor sleep, and could it work so much upon your shape, as it hath much prevailed on your condition, I should not know you, Brutus." In other words, I don't recognize you anymore. Now, Brutus already had told us in his monologue, his soliloquy, that he's been basically an emotional wreck trying to think through this and decide what he was going to do. She has noticed that he doesn't even act or seem like himself anymore. She says, "Dear my lord, make me acquainted with your cause of grief. Let me know what's going on. I'm not well in health, and that is all. I have a cold. I don't feel good." That's his response. Brutus is wise, and were he not in health, he would embrace the means to come by it. So in other words, if you were sick, you would like run down and get some NyQuil or something. You would do something to help yourself out here. And so he says, "Why, so I do. Yeah, I'm taking care of it. Good, Portia, go to bed." So he's hoping to just shut her down and get her out of there. But no, she's not going to have any of that. She's going to come at him again. Is Brutus sick? And is it physical? Is it healthy? To walk unbraced and suck up the humors, which is like the dampness of the dank morning. In other words, to come out here without being properly attired and suck up the cold air. What, is Brutus sick? And will he steal out of his wholesome bed to dare the vile contagion of the night and tempt the rheumy and unpurged air? In other words, air that could cause a physical ailment. One would be like rheumatism in your lungs because the air has not been, warmed up by the sun. So it's like, would you dare, being as smart as you are, get out of bed and walk around and expose yourself to being sick if you really were sick, to add unto your sickness? No, my Brutus, you have some sick offense, a harmful sickness within your mind. You're sick in the head, hubby. Which by the right and virtue of my place I ought to know of. In other words, I'm your wife, that's my right, and that's who I am. Upon my knees I charm you by my once committed beauty. So, right, so she's on her knees begging now, and trying to charm him, win him over, because, people always have said how pretty I am. And by all your vows of love, and that great vow, your marriage vow. In other words, I was hot, and you used to say how much you love me, and then you made a vow to marry me, which did incorporate and make us one. We're married, we're one. That you unfold to me, yourself, your half, why you are heavy, like what's weighing down on you. So, spit it out. And what men tonight have had resort to you, for here have been some 6 or 7 who did hide their faces even from darkness. So she's been watching. She sees these guys show up and they're being all sneak, and she's like, whoa, something's bad going down. Which Brutus has already kind of admitted that the way they looked and as apprehensive and cloaked and pulling down their hats and all that, they looked suspicious. And so she's suspicious. Kneel not, gentle Portia. So he's trying to feeling bad here. Get up. You don't have to beg. She says, I should not need if you were gentle, Brutus. Back in his face, right? If you were gentle with me, I wouldn't have to kneel. Within the bond of marriage, tell me, Brutus, is it accepted? Isn't it an exception within marriage? I should know no secrets that appertain, which means appertain means to belong to you. Am I yourself, but as it were, in sort of limitation? Do I have only kind of limited access to you as your wife and you're my husband? Right? To keep with you at meals. So in other words, now she's laundry listing. Is this my boundaries? Like I'm your little pet here. I can come have meals with you, comfort your bed. Yeah, you know what that means. And talk to you sometimes. Dwell I but in the suburbs of your good pleasure, the outskirts, right? So this is kind of an analogy of, am I like living outside of town in a shack and I can come in when it makes you happy? If it be no more, Portia is Brutus's harlot, not his wife. Harlot is a prostitute. So she's like, what, am I just your prostitute? Or am I your wife? Which is it? And so he this got to him. He's like, you are my true and honorable wife, as dear to me as are the ruddy drops, which are blood. Ruddy is red, that visit my sad heart. So you're my sweetheart. I love you. Sorry, I've been stepping on you. She's not done though. If this were true, then I should know the secret. Yeah, if I was really this dear to you, you wouldn't be holding this in. I grant that I am a woman. All right, so she's kind of like, this is the built-in sexism. She's like, I am a woman in this culture. But withal a woman that Lord Brutus took to wife. So you married me, so I must mean I have some value, some worth. I grant I am a woman, but withal a woman well reputed. I have a good reputation. I'm Cato's daughter. Right? This was, a famous general. He was an ally of Pompey and was the enemy of Caesar. So in other words, like I'm on the right side of things. Right? Think you I'm no stronger than my sex, being so fathered and so husbanded? I have this dad and you as my husband. I can take it. Tell me your counsels, your secrets, and I will not disclose them. Disclose them means to reveal. And now this is where it gets weird. I have made a strong proof of my constancy, giving myself a voluntary wound here in the thigh. Can I bear that with patience and not my husband's secrets? In other words, like to prove that I can keep things in, I stab myself in the leg and I haven't whined about it or cried about it, like, oh, my leg. Okay, so that's her proof. Okay, but I would be like, cuckoo, but okay. Brutus, O ye gods, render me worthy of this noble riot. Oh, this really got him, right? Then there's a knock. Hark, hark, one knocks. So someone's knocking. Portia, go in a while, and here's his promise. And by thy bosom shall partake the secrets of my heart. So I'm going to tell you everything. All my engagements, my commitments, I will construe or make known to you. All the caricature of my sad brows, in other words, why I've been so grumpy and sad, and leave me with haste. So let me go deal with this, whoever's at the door, and then I'll come and tell you everything. And so Lucius, the servant, brings in Caius Ligarius. If you remember, this was the guy that Metellus was going to go tell to come and talk to Brutus to try to get him on board. So Lucius, who's that, knocks. Here is a sick man that would speak with you. So this dude is not feeling so hot. Brutus, Caius Ligarius, that Metellus spake of. Boy, stand aside. Caius Ligarius, how? Like, how are you? Vouchsafe good morrow from a feeble tongue. Like, I'm doing okay, but I'm not feeling great. Oh, what a time have you chose out. You picked, brave Caius, to wear a kerchief, which would be like to protect him from the cold. Would you were not sick. In other words, I wish you weren't so ill, because if there's some stuff we need to do. I am not sick. If Brutus have a hand, any exploit worthy the name of honor. Whoa. So because of Brutus's reputation, I will not be sick. I'll pretend I'm not sick if, you have something worthy for me to do. Such an exploit I have in hand, Ligarius, had you a healthful ear to hear it. And so, in other words, if you were feeling good. He says back, by all the gods that Romans bow before, I here discard my sickness. So in the movie, he takes off his handkerchief and is like, I'm okay, I'm better. Soul of Rome, brave son, derived from honorable loins, In other words, these are all compliments of Brutus. You are the soul of Rome. You embody everything that's great about Rome. You're a brave son of Rome. You have noble lineage. So in other words, I will follow you. You are amazing. Thou, like an exorcist, just like the people that cast out demons, hast conjured up my mortified spirit. In other words, you have brought out my true strength. Now bid me run, and I will strive with things impossible. Yea, get the better of them. So I will just I'm good, and go do whatever you need to do. What's to do? Brutus says, a piece of work that will make sick men whole. Meaning, who are the sick men? All the people suffering under Caesar. Here's what he says. But are not some whole that we must make sick? So he knows that there's some bloody work to do, and he can imagine, and he probably knows it's against Caesar, because he was an ally of Pompey. That we must also. What is it, my Caius? I shall unfold to thee, as we are going to whom it must be done. So come on and let's talk about it, and you're going to find out what we need to do. Set on your foot, advance, in other words, and with a heart new fired I follow you, to do I know not what, but it sufficeth that Brutus leads me on. Follow me then, says Brutus. So whatever it is, he probably knows and has an inkling that they're going to be killing someone or taking them out of power, and who would that be but besides Caesar? But he says, whatever it is, just because you, Brutus, asked me to go, I'm going to go. And again, this is the whole idea of Brutus's reputation being so honored and valued and trusted as a power in Rome, that the conspirators hoped he would bring a kind of a trueness or a validity to the assassination of Julius Caesar. Now, but you also notice that he left with this guy and didn't tell his wife anything. Oops. So there you go. End of the scene.